you may have the itch to start planting something or getting your hands in the soil. Every day we're getting one day closer to spring, but it's a little too soon to plant seeds indoors for your garden, depending on your zone and the hardiness of your growing zone. If you are eager to get your hands in soil and plant something in the house, have some fresh greens, today I'm going to show you how to grow microgreens. It is super simple, and the turnaround rate to having fresh greens on your plate is about 7 to 10 days. You're going to need a few things. You can do this very inexpensively if you want to. If you want to use old strawberry containers or grape containers, depending on what your grapes come in these days. But if you're familiar, and I don't have any to show you, those plastic containers with holes in, think tomato, what your tomatoes come in these days. You can use that too because they have some nice drain holes at the bottom. But I like something that has a little bit more space and is a little bit heavy duty, something that I can use over and over again. So I have invested in these microgreen trays from Bootstrap Farmer. I have used them before and they are wonderful. They last for multiple seasons if they don't get lost around the farm. I'm looking at my girls because they like to use them for multiple things, especially even, fodder for the chickens and for the bunnies. So this is something you can do for your farm animals too, if you have farm animals, to give them some fresh greens in the wintertime. So you're gonna want a 10 by 10 tray with drain holes in the bottom. These are, I believe, the inch or the 1.5 inch trays. They do have ones that are taller. These are nice because you don't need a lot of soil. So I have 2 of those. And then I did invest in some of their, what I call their trays with no holes, but it's like a follower. So it's gonna catch all the water that drains to the bottom. So this tray is a 10 by 20. They do also sell, if you don't want a big 10 by 20, they have the 10 by 10 without holes. Mine are pretty dirty because I've been using them non-stop. We have microgreens kind of everywhere in our house. So you'll need 2 of these, and you actually will need a couple 10 by 10s to place on top, and I'll show you. You'll see as we progress why these are important to have. Okay, so I'm gonna fit these in here just like that. And then you're also going to want coconut soil. So you may ask, well, why can't I just use, and I've had this question, why can't I just use dirt from outside or potting soil? Well, regular soil, dirt from the earth or from your garden holds moisture, and so does potting soil. And you don't want excess moisture. That just creates mold, and you really want to try to stay away from mold. Sometimes I have a patch here or there in my microgreens and I'll just cut around that. But the coconut pith is a brick of coconut soil. So look how condensed that is. This expands to make, I would say, maybe about 20 trays. So the first time I started, I got a big block, a huge block, and I didn't realize how much soil it made. And I didn't need that much. So now I get the small bricks. They come in 2 or 4 packs or even 8 packs. And I'll link all the details below. This is an organic coconut pith soil. And what I do is I take that brick and I put it in a big Rubbermaid tote. And then I'll just take the sprayer from my kitchen sink and spray it down, or just keep this under my sink because I have a really large faucet and a deep sink that this will fit into. And I'll just put I'll start with about a gallon of water. And then as it expands, I let it just sit, it'll expand, and I break it apart. If it needs more water, I'll add more water. And what you have then is this beautiful light soil that's gonna allow your microgreens to take root in it. Your microgreens don't need a whole lot of nutrients because they're so fast growing, and you're gonna cut them after 7 or 10 days. So it doesn't really need a whole lot of nutrients. It just needs to be a soil that doesn't stay super moist. That can hold a little bit of moisture, but not retain a ton of moisture where there could be error for mold. So that's the medium we're going to use today. So let's get started. So all I do is take about, I would say about 3 handfuls. So that was about 2 right away. Let me tilt my camera for you guys. So you will use about 3 handfuls. This was about 2. And your soil doesn't have to be really deep. So I would say maybe an inch thick. Try to get it even so that the seeds will come up in an even pattern. Flatten it out. So 1, 2, and 1. Break up any chunks. And now the fun part. This is so easy. It doesn't take a lot of time. It just takes patience waiting on those seeds to come up. So I have seeds from True Leaf Market. This is where I normally order from. This is where I've always ordered from, and they have expanded so much so that they have quite a variety of microgreen seeds. You can probably find I take that back. You most likely can find microgreen seeds from a variety of seed suppliers these days because it is growing in popularity. I like True Leaf Market. I like that they carry organic varieties. Again, the artwork always gets me on the seed packet, and they've been around. That they know the industry. And so I just go back to them over and over again. So we're gonna plant some beet seeds. And you're gonna wanna plant these thick. So let me show you what beet seeds look like. So I would say about a tablespoon to 2 tablespoons sprinkled pretty evenly on top and quite thick. And the one thing about True Leaf Market, they actually sell their microgreens in a variety of sizes. So this is a 1 pound bag. They have 1 ounce, they have 4 ounce. This is a 1 pound bag, and this will last me for quite a while, probably until next year. So I just keep these in the refrigerator and they will stay good, and I'll be able to use them again next January, next February. The other ones we're gonna plant are broccoli seeds. And these are so tiny, so just a tablespoon is really all you need. And again, same concept. You want to plant them pretty thick. Why? Well, you don't want just one little tiny seed. So Gracie asked why. This is Brooke's pet peeve. When he watches YouTube videos and people don't explain why, he stops watching. So you want to plant them thick because you're going to be cutting them and you want a thick bunch. You don't want just 1 or 2 broccoli sprouts. You want a whole handful of broccoli sprouts. And so you want to plant them thick so they come up really thick. And when you cut them, you have a handful in your hand. So it's a little bit different than just planting 1 seed in the ground like you were planting, in your garden. You are bringing up a handful, a plethora of seedlings here, and you're eating those seedlings all together. So it'd be kind of a pain just to pick 1 little seedling here and there. It's just easier to pick them in a bunch. All right, so now what we're gonna do is you can do 2 things. You can use a water bottle like this and spray them down. What I find to be the easiest is just using my kitchen sink, the sprayer on my kitchen sink, and really get this soil moist. Think spring. Think, it rains really often in the spring. And those little seedlings come alive in that really moist, warm soil. So 2 things that seeds need are warmth and moisture to germinate, and that's what you want first off. So I'm going to take these and spray these under the sprayer, because then I know I won't be standing here spraying and taking forever. I'm just going to spray them and get them really moist. Okay, so these are really, really wet. These are probably the wettest they're going to be throughout the whole process. And as you notice, I didn't put any soil on top, because when these seeds come up, you're going to be cutting them at such a young stage. You don't want dirt on your sprouts or on your microgreens. I know there's going to be some dirt, but you don't want a ton on your microgreens, because you're going to be eating them pretty quickly. So what we do to replicate the earth and being under the soil is, this is where you're going to take your 2 trays that do not have holes in, and you're going to place them right on top to replicate the darkness of being under the soil. And then from there, you want something heavy. You want to replicate that pressure. And so I just put a brick on top, and there you have it. Okay, so after 24 hours, you're gonna take these bricks off, check the water level, just the, how moist the soil is. You may need to mist them just one more time. You're not gonna douse them with water. Just mist them a little bit, and then put them back under cover for another 24 hours. So a full 48 hours, these are gonna be under darkness, under pressure. After that 48 hours, you're gonna uncover them and put them in the sunniest, warmest location in your home. Now the sun comes into the factor, right? At first, seedlings need moisture, and they need warmth and darkness. I didn't think about that, and darkness to germinate. And then after 24 hours, then the sun comes into play. Then they're gonna need sun, warmth, moisture. So I would suggest not a windowsill, especially in the wintertime, because the draft of a windowsill could, hinder the growth. So I like to keep mine on the end of my kitchen table in a sunny location. Brooke just set up this grow station, and the top of those grow lights are really warm, so we've been keeping them on top there, and that's also in a window, or near a window, and it has been working. So not directly in a windowsill, but away from it, where it can still get some sunlight and some warmth. Leave those grow for 5 to 7 days. Misting, spraying as you walk past. Some things that can be, play into the growth of your microgreens are the humidity in your house, the coldness outside, because when it's really cold outside, I know for us, we have a wood stove, and that makes the air really dry when we're running that wood stove, when we have it cranked on cold days. And so you constantly want to make sure those microgreens have moisture. So if you find that the soil is really dry, you can take it over to the kitchen sink and give it a good dousing, a good spray with that sprayer. But normally just this spraying it every now and then, a couple times a day as you walk past, or if you're not at home, morning and night. And then in 7 to 10 days, sometimes even 5 to 7 days, depending on all the things that we talked about, humidity in your home, or if it's dry, if your home is cooler or warmer, but we'll say 5 to 10 days. Ready to put on your plate that are homegrown, delicious. Sawyer, what are your favorites?
The sunflower sprouts.
The sunflower sprouts. So if you do want to do any kind of sunflower sprouts, or any seeds that have a harder shell, like a pea seed or a lentil seed, you will definitely want to soak your seeds for about 6 to 8 hours. So I like to do this overnight, and then I drain them, and you can plant them in the soil after that. It's just to soften the shell. Actually, I like to just soak them for 8 hours, and then for the next 24 hours, spray them and get them really good and soft, and let them start sprouting out of their shell before I plant them in the soil. So let me show you what that looks like. So I keep them in a colander lined bowl, and that way I can just pick this up, dump out the water, and then put this back in. And so, for the next 24 hours, I can just spray them, keep them moist, so they start to just pop out of their shell, start to germinate in the colander, and then I'll put them in the soil. Same process as I did with the beet and broccoli seeds.
Hi.
Okay, so this is actually right here.
Which one?
So these seeds, this is broccoli and this is sunflower. These were started about 10 days ago. As you can tell, the broccoli seeds are perfect. They can be harvested. I'll harvest those today and tomorrow. I like to keep them in the soil and harvest as I need to because they just stay fresher in the soil. As I see them starting to flop over, like the sunflowers, see we've been harvesting them and eating them, and now I'm starting to see that they're flopping over. So I'm gonna harvest the rest of them and put them in a bag and put them in the refrigerator just to last a few more days. The one thing about the sunflowers, if you have any tips, if you've grown microgreens, the little shells don't all come off. And that can be a pain to try to get those clean before you eat them. But what I like to do is take a knife, right? Especially because I can't find scissors around the house all the time because they just always go missing, is just kind of grab the base and start to cut the bottom. Just like that, okay? And then what is left over, the chickens absolutely love. So I'll finish that later. Let me show you what some of the fresher sunflower sprouts look like. These were started about 5 days ago. So here, the sunflower sprouts are just coming up. These will be ready in about a day or two. And I just keep going past and spraying them. Anytime I go past them, I'll spray them. That helps moisten that shell too, for the shell to pop off. So you really want to, again, keep them moist. And then these are beet seeds. And beets take a little longer to grow. They're definitely a little daintier, but they're beautiful. That beautiful crimson red color, I think, or magenta pink. I don't know what you would call it, but they are gorgeous. And they add such a depth of flavor to your food. I'm a foodie, and so the microgreens are one way to get nutrients into our diet in wintertime, but also to add such color and depth of flavor to our meals. And then if you want to go a step further, you can even do wheatgrass and juice wheatgrass. If you get a special wheatgrass juicer and have fresh wheatgrass, and that'll add lots of nutrients and energy to your diet and to your day. So lots of B vitamins in wheatgrass. And the soil is kind of therapeutic to play in, right? And that's why we grow microgreens in the winter, because it's therapeutic to grow something when you're longing for spring days ahead, and just to have that green on your plate, the green growing in your house, not to mention the added nutrition that you get from microgreens, which I didn't even touch on, but that's what I touch on primarily in my folk school class. It's the first thing I talk about is why microgreens. We like to eat seasonally as much as possible. And for us, you know, getting vegetables into our diet is kind of hard in the wintertime. Don't get me wrong, I love vegetables, but I'm a vegetable snob in wintertime. When I go to the grocery store and I see broccoli wrapped in plastic, cucumbers wrapped in plastic, and I know that they're shipped from across the country or even in other countries. And one thing to consider if you're buying organic, a lot of organic that's coming into the country has been gone through a radiation process. So how much nutrients is really there if it is being shipped miles and miles and miles, and then also gone through the radiation process? So having fresh microgreens on your plate, just even a handful, is going to be more beneficial than getting broccoli wrapped in plastic, shipped from California or Chile, wherever it's coming from. Just because it says it's organic doesn't mean that it's going to be nutritious, okay? So I have this whole pamphlet, this microgreen guide. This is on my website. I'll link it below with the step-by-step directions And then the nutrition benefits too. Let's go over some of those real quick. They offer enzymes for digestion. Your body gets depleted of enzymes as you age. You only have so many enzymes and they deplete after time. So to help with digestion, who doesn't need that, right? Carotenoids for immune support and eye health. And they also help healthy mucous membranes. Polyphenols to protect your body against oxidative stress just from living, right? So that your cells can function properly, protects you against the risk of cancer and heart disease and inflammation, okay? Minerals, this is key. Our body thrives on minerals. All functions of our body need minerals to carry out tasks. And then if you're consuming any kind of cruciferous microgreen, like I had broccoli sprouts going, you're gonna get the benefits of sulforaphane. It's a compound found to help protect your body against cancer. And sulforaphane is in all cruciferous vegetables, but think about this. 1 handful of broccoli sprouts. So take 1 handful, that is, you could probably guess 50 little baby broccoli plants. How much broccoli do you really eat when you get broccoli at the grocery store or the farmer's market? Probably not a whole head, unless you absolutely love broccoli. My girls can down a whole head of broccoli. Maybe a half, maybe a quarter of that plant. This is 50. If you have a whole handful of broccoli sprouts, that's 50 little baby broccoli plants, and the nutrients is so compounded in those sprouts, and so you are getting the compounded rate and the nutrition of all of those little baby broccoli plants. So just consider that if you question eating vegetables in the wintertime like we do, and next time you go to the grocery store and you see that broccoli wrapped in plastic, or cucumbers wrapped in plastic, or you see that it's shipped from across the nation or in other parts of the country, just question it, okay? How healthy are vegetables if you have to truck them in miles and miles and miles, when you could just have 1 handful of fresh microgreens on your plate? You can put them in smoothies, we put them on eggs, you can have them as your vegetable, to go along with that grass-fed steak. So be creative, allow your creativity and your culinary palate to come alive when you are exploring and experiencing the microgreens. So I hope this helps you take root in 2022, helps you take root in your health, maybe to try something different on your plate. Or if you are brand new to gardening, this will get your feet wet, right? Dipping that toe in, getting used to growing something right on your counter, right on your kitchen table. And this is awesome if you have an apartment and you're dreaming of a homestead. Start right now, because this will help you get a feel for having a garden, growing something of your own, and that satisfaction of having it on your plate and saying, hey, I grew this, I did this. So I hope this blessed you. Catch you again. If you have any questions, leave some comments below, and don't forget to check out this guide, this step-by-step guide. I'll link this and all the resources below in the show notes. See you guys next time.